thank you for joining me for an episode of Intuition Your First Sense. This week I'm talking to Cassandra Rosa. She is an intuitive life coach, Reiki master, author, and speaker. She's from Canada, and she primarily works with millennials. And I was excited to see this and also intrigued to have a conversation with another intuitive life coach because I don't see that as advertised as very much. And I was thrilled to have her on the show. So I hope you'll listen in and enjoy the conversation. Thank you for joining us today. As I said in the intro, I have Cassandra Rosa here with me today, and I'm grateful to be able to talk to you. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to toss it over to her in a moment because I'm so intrigued by people who have been able to nail their client base because that is not an area that I have excelled in, and yet I admire it. It's amazing, and I know it's important. And I love your client base, and I'm going to let you talk about that because I think it will just come more naturally from you. So, who are you? What you got going on? What you bring in the world?
Yes, thank you first and foremost for having me, Vicki. It's amazing to be a part of your podcast today and to be able to chat with you and to everyone listening. So like Vicki said, I'm Cassandra Rosa. I am an intuitive life coach, and I work with millennials to help them find the clarity they need to create their dream life and business. So to me, the whole concept of clarity really comes down to three things. It really comes to clearing what's holding you back from making your dreams a reality, to create a clear vision for yourself, and to create an action plan to make it into fruition, to make it happen, and to co-create it with the universe. Because when we're looking at my darkest times, my most confused and uncertain times, those were the three things that I was really missing. I was really stuck and uncertain of what was next, and that left me down a dark road, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know my purpose, and I was just stuck. I wasn't taking any action. So the main people that I work with are going through some of those things, trying to figure out what's next for them, finding their purpose, and starting a business once they find out what their purpose is. I also have a podcast. It's called Clarity Conversations, that I have a conversation with the audience talking about those three main things. It's a variety type of podcast in which sometimes I'm going to be sharing some simple tips for you. Sometimes I'm going to be sharing what advice I would give to the younger version of myself that I was experiencing now what moments I call the moments that they were searching for clarity. And I also have conversations with guests to share a little bit about their story and their areas of expertise. And that's available on all major platforms. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it. I work mainly with millennials, but I also work with a lot of women. I find that in terms of target market, if you want to talk about that, the way that I look at it, and if there's any business owners looking that are trying to figure out the same thing, I look at the moment that I needed the current me most. I look at the moment where I was seeking for something more, looking for guidance, and then that's who the target market is, because I find that you can authentically connect with them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that exact demographic, so the exact millennials for me, for example, but it's really looking at what were the big things you were seeking, what were the big problems and obstacles you were facing, and making that super clear, because I think if you look at all the people you connect with or your clients, there is some kind of connection point, some overlap. So that's kind of how I facilitated who I was going to serve, and gave me the ability to connect with people authentically because I get where they're at because I've been there.
And that's so important, that empathy. You know, we all have different experiences, different stories, but we know what frustration feels like. We know what stuck feels like. And to be able to navigate that and to intuit even what's going on with the person when they can't describe it. That's my favorite part about being an intuitive life coach is saying, well, it feels like, or, you know, can you describe? Because bottom line, I think people are people. You know, we tend to put these target markets out there, but I have found anyway, and I'm going to ask you if you've experienced this, that I can be working with someone who may not fall into what target audience or even the demographics that mostly show up for me. And yet I might be speaking to that version of themselves. Like, I have a lot of wonderful women who are in their 70s right now that I'm working with. And yet we are speaking mostly with their 19-year-old selves and their 21-year-old selves. So I hear you when you say, yeah, there's a market, and yet it's open to where are you and how can I help?
Yeah, I think sometimes in business they make you think about like your demographics, so like the age and the gender and all of that. But the way that I see it too is really just figuring out what are the issues that they're facing, what are the problems that they're facing. And then when that's clear, you start to attract the people with that overlap. So I can completely resonate with what you were saying about your clients that may be 70, but you're actually healing the 19-year-old self, that maybe that's something that you could have related to. So, yeah. Love this conversation so far.
Thank you. Well, it's fun for me because from my perspective, I've been doing this 21 years. So when I launched and well, actually it wasn't a launch. We didn't call it that then. It was just, what are you doing for business? Because my heart told me I had to do this. And intuitive life coach wasn't something you heard about. I didn't even know what the word intuitive meant when I first started discovering my own abilities and that the fact that I could tap into or read or feel what was going on with my coworkers. I thought everybody was doing it. I just thought it's common sense. Like, this is what we do. So when I saw that you had intuitive life coach on there, I was like, yes. Mine says professional now, so I work a lot more with corporations, and they don't always want that intuitive life coach label there, which is fine. However we're showing up is how we're showing up. I'm curious about your process to that, about your recognizing this intuitive self within you, and then how it lent itself, but also let itself be known that this is what you'd like to do or have to do. Sometimes it feels like have to do.
Yes. So it was a longer journey to get into life coaching. I knew from a young age I wanted to make a difference in the world. I didn't know what that meant. I thought I would become a teacher, but then here in Canada, the jobs were hard to find. I thought that I would be a psychologist, and halfway through my degree, it changed the qualifications to become a psychologist here in Canada. And from that point of being completely lost, I went on a journey. I talk about this in my book, actually. My book came out last year, more in depth about my journey. So if that interests you, you're welcome to pick that up. But there was this moment where I thought I had to make money to make a difference in the world. And I tried it out, and I was still dreaming about doing philanthropy, in Africa, like I did before I got into corporate, or traveling the world, or helping empower and mentor people. And I didn't know anything about personal development aside from like a Bob Proctor stuff that my dad told me when I was growing up. But I ended up just divine synchronicity, going to a networking event, meeting this woman that was my first business partner, and fell into personal development, fell in love with it. Never thought I would be a coach. I'm like, what do I have to offer people? Why don't they just study with Tony Robbins? Like, why are they going to study with me? And things changed within a few years, got into the personal development industry, hired a business coach that was helping me put that together, did the first launch, complete crickets.
Yeah.
Complete crickets. I did all the perfect funnels and getting the emails, crickets. And that was about April, May. And it's interesting because I had this intuitive gift from a very young age. I always could relate to people. I always had people coming up to me telling me their problems, my jobs. I'm sure you can relate with that. I can be giggling over there. And I ended up taking an intuition course and fell in love with it. And I wondered, I'm like, can I add this in my business somehow? I kid you not, like within 6 months of adding the intuitive aspect into my business, I was able to replace my full-time income. I used to work sales for Nespresso, the coffee company.
Love it. Oh, it's my morning.
Me too. And then that was it. Like, it just, including card readings, including Reiki.
Yep.
Including just being very authentic. When I felt like an inner knowing about something, being able to share that and like spread some breadcrumbs for my clients. And it just changed everything to me, just standing into my gifts even more.
I love that, because obviously my podcast is called Intuition, Your First Sense, because I truly believe while some of us have antennas that may pick up other signals, everyone has this intuition. And the more that we bring it into every area of our life, in work, in relationship, in community, and how we are in the world, I feel like there's a calming that happens. You know, at first it might be a little challenging to figure it all out, but then there's a calming that happens. And then we do show up, you know, in our more authentic, playful, because spirit is very playful, and it's just this joyful connection with soul that, you know, doesn't have to be this woo-woo thing. It's our very natural wiring. And more you'll hear it in the marketing. This product is very intuitive. And it's like, oh, really? Is it now? You know, because that's our first sense. It's how we pick up things. And then we bring, you know, the others into place. So hearing that your business shifted and probably clicked in when you stepped into yourself and said, hey, this is pretty fun. Let me see what I can do with this. And I love that because it's also a natural progression, right? You could have continued to push, and my background is corporate as well, you know, could have continued to push, do very well with intelligence and, you know, and leading. And yet that voice within is like, wait a minute, I line up somewhere else. And then that's likely why you also are so helpful to your clients in understanding that there's a necessity to listen to that voice, because otherwise, or that feeling, it comes in so many different ways. I know we tend to say listen to the voice, but so many people feel, or, you know, it just drops in. I don't ever want to limit. So what's the thing that you find, if there is one thing, I would be hard pressed to do this for myself, but I'm actually hearing to ask you this, so I'm going to. What's the thing that you find the most exciting about the work you do? Like, Cassandra lit up, get the giggles, I want to do this every day kind of thing.
Yes, I can think of two.
Okay.
When there's a moment that my client is completely lost, confused, it's just question marks in their mind. Like, you can almost see them, right?
Yeah.
And then I get channeled a message, and it's exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And the light bulb goes on. You're like, yes, This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And when my clients do the work, like do the dream work, they come up next call, and they are just elated by their wins. Elated. They're like, yes, I did this, this, and this, and I achieved this and this and this. Thank you. And it's not even about, like, I don't need the recognition. It's more that they applied themselves. This was a divine alignment and intersection, and they got what they needed in that moment. Those are like, that's what makes it fulfilling for me. That's what makes it extra special. This is like those moments from the universe that it's like, yep, this is your path, girl. This is your path.
And that's so exciting. I understand that feeling of, you can feel the energy move when there's the question marks, as you say, and you can feel that there's a resistance or a block or just kind of stuck energy. And then when a well-placed question, maybe an energy sent through your heart space, something, and the other person receives it. I've joked before that it's my contact high. You know, this is where I get so excited when someone else is doing well for themselves, not just in achievement, but in listening to themselves and showing up for themselves. And because that will go out exponentially, that will help, you know, in how they are in the world. It's important for all people in business, I'll stick with the business space right now, that we have those feelings, that we get to feel beyond the bottom line. Yes, a profit is good because you can't stay in business if you're not bringing in an income. But that infusion of, yes, this is me listening to my soul so I can help other people listen to their souls. And it's that infusion of and connectivity. So what has been challenging for you, either in business or with your intuitive practice, or in lining up? Well, you lined up really young with your energy, so that may not. A lot of people that I work with are aware of it, and I feel like I'm like, can I just suggest something to you? Like, maybe you've been feeling this since you were 7. But what has been a challenge, either in business or, because I think we learn for those. You said that about your darker moments. So if you want to share, you don't have to.
Challenges in regards to business. I have a billion ideas of things that I want to create. Like last year, it was like, ooh, I want to have this course. Ooh, I want to make an accountability group. Ooh, I want to launch card readings and Reiki and a book and a podcast. And I made it all happen some miraculous way. But I have like so many creative ideas that it's just like boom, 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 like go, in creating them. So it's a good thing, but I think that it's a lot. It's a lot, like go. I think in terms of another challenge would be like work-life balance, because I'm in this like little world of like happiness and impact and fulfillment. And sometimes I am working on taking a step back and being able to like relax. Yeah. Because I always feel like I have something to do to serve and to live my mission and to live my purpose, and a list of things that I want to create, that in 2021, I am looking to create more of a work-life balance.
That's a great intention and a message for people, because I have worked with a lot of, and for those who might not know the age, the millennials, typically 24 to 39, it's a big group. And part of the reason I was excited when I visited your website and everything, CassandraRosa.com, thank you very much, it was, I have said from the very beginning, and maybe because I raised a few of them, I love the millennial energy. I know some people complain about it, but I love it because there's not a word. It's like a zzz. You know?
I love that. I've never heard that one. That's awesome.
That's how I get a lot of my stuff. There's like a feeling or a frequency. And when I'm working with someone, and before we did video, and so I'd be on the phone with people, I wouldn't see them, and I'd be like, I know who I have here, because I can hear the zzz that's running through the system, right? Whether they were of indigo or whatever, you can feel the energy that was running through. And one of the aspects that I've seen the most is this challenge with work-life balance, and have, I hope, helped the most in helping people to realize that exactly what you're talking about. If you don't have that balance, you're going to burn out, number one. That young energy will eventually leave you in the dust. And if you aren't listening to your own, the work might fill you up, might lift you up, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting to be an intuitive life coach. And I think an intuitive doctor, an intuitive musician, it's exhausting. So we have to listen to the physical self in order to line up. And then that's where manifestation happens too. Because if you don't step back and receive, what the heck? I'm 51, right? So I can come from a perspective of, let me save you 20 years. But we have to walk through things. We have to experience things. And certainly when I was in this age group, I don't remember most of it because I was raising those millennials. So have you created, I hear the intention, but have you created are you working with your schedule to do that? Like, where's the action? Because I love that you said action earlier, because a lot of people miss that point in any kind of practice, quite frankly. You got to move your butt.
Yeah. I've made a whole rollout plan for my assistant to take on
Lovely.
more things. So that is the biggest thing. I have a launch schedule that's like launch and then chill and create. I have picked up a journal here. I'm going to show Vicky, but for the listeners, it's called Moonology Diary.
Okay. Okay.
We're doing a video recording here.
Yeah.
And it's getting more in touch with like the moon cycles of like new moon, go, 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 and then like full moon, like what do you want to release? Stepping more into that because I am a Cancer, if anyone's into astrology. You too?
I am.
And I'm just so connected to the moon. So I'm like, well, I might as well use this natural energy spurts and natural energy introspection to my advantage for my life. Not even just business, but my life.
Right.
My relationships, everything. Yeah. So those are a few practical steps. So I love how you brought this up. And I think that if there's any changes that anyone wants to make for 2021 this year, I think it's as simple as that, is setting your intention, choosing your first 3 action steps, choosing when to start, and then going for it. So my first was having a nice strategy call with my assistant to give her more tasks. So I have more time to focus on creation and work-life balance.
Well, and that also, I'm happy to hear that because I like to say that it's best to be of service, not in service, so that we're not frying our motherboards. But when you're also embracing what your assistant could do for you, I feel like we're honoring them. I have 2 ladies who, I just love them. And I love that they love to do the things I don't love to do that I'm capable of doing.
Yes, sister. Yeah.
Just because we can doesn't mean we have to.
Yes.
And I love it when I can say to Tracy, here you go, girl, run with it. And she's so excited. She loves calling people back. She doesn't mind voicemail jail. I can't stand it. I'm like, let's do email. Get me an answer. I don't want. So the practical steps, but then you have to actually do them. And I feel like, have you noticed that something that may be missing in the messaging of get it done, move through, accomplish, hit your goals, is I don't think people talk enough about how yummy it feels to have stayed with something, if it resonates, and followed it through to fruition. That part of it's always like people are moving the goalpost again, and I'm like, hang on. Stop. A lot of the times I have lots of executives that I work with, and I literally do the timeout signal, and I'll be like, hang on, we need a moment of appreciation here. You're moving too fast. You got all the laundry done? Seriously? So have you seen that? Do you feel like you help people with that too, in appreciating that? Because boy, I want more people to appreciate themselves.
Yeah. I think a couple points came up when you were talking. The first one was it's about setting aligned goals. Because I feel like people are setting goals that are just not attainable, non-alignment, then they do the whole let's beat up myself for not achieving it.
Right.
Or let's hustle to get it done. And then it's not. And it's like, okay, what is the big vision goal? What is the baby step that I can take that's in alignment, that's simple, that's easy to create the momentum? So I think that is very, very important, and I work with my clients with that. And I have them reflect every single week. I actually have like a productivity guide, which has become like an intuitive productivity guide, in which there's reflection questions every single week, including what was your biggest win? What was your biggest lesson? What do you want to let go of from the previous week? And what do you want to celebrate? So I think that that's in alignment with what you're saying.
Exactly.
You have to celebrate every baby step. You have to celebrate, like, hey, let's not have destination syndrome, like I call it, that you only can celebrate when you hit 6 figures in your business. No, like, why don't you celebrate your first client?
Right.
Why don't you celebrate your first launch, no matter how successful it was? So, like, every step of the way, celebration is super important, and setting goals that are simple and attainable and in alignment with where you are right now.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, because it's the kinetic energy that gets created that allows more to come in, those synchronistic moments, the connections with people that you're like, I could not make this up. And it just happens through the divine connection, because there is a sense of self-appreciation. And then I think of it as a thank you to the universe. Like, if we're not thanking the energy and appreciating it, and a lot of the times I'll say to someone, did you do the happy dance? I need you to do the happy dance. I don't care. Like, I don't consider myself a decent dancer by any stretch of the imagination, but you must happy dance. Because then the manifestation, the receiving can happen. And I feel like then it's easier to celebrate others. And this is what I want. I want the ripple effect. I want it all.
Yes, it's important to have those people that you can cheer each other on every step, and to remind you of celebration. And that's why I think accountability partnerships are so important, and being a part of a community of like-minded people that can cheer you on, even if people in your other circle aren't necessarily understanding your vision and being there with you on that.
Well, that might be, and especially if other people aren't there, because maybe they just don't understand, and that's okay. Maybe it scares them. We all have a different direction. Now, you have a pretty active Facebook group, don't you? Speaking of celebratory and like-minded and all of that. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. So it's called Achieve Your Dreams with Cassandra Rosa. It's a Facebook community in which I do 2 lives every single week.
Wow.
And it's the go-to place for free content, for early announcements about different events. I just had one at the end of January, so that was tons of fun. And it's an amazing place to be, very positive, very loving, and yeah, that's where you can get me consistently in there. And I talk with every single person in there. I really make it a point to get to know everybody's story and see what's the best way that I can be of service for them, for where they're at currently.
I love that, because I have had people say to me, how do I know it's you answering me on social media? I'm like, you can't tell from the sense of humor that it's me? Like, the comments will let you know it. But I understand that, because I have, we've all connected with leaders, teachers, and thought that's what we were getting, and then no. And I on the other side of that, understand needing moderators and everything. I get that. But in this time, especially now, connection is huge. It's important. It's always been important, but I think more so now. And as our energy shifts, and as a fellow Cancer, wow, is the energy high right now. Exciting. I actually feel like the frequency is of a level now that this might be my planet. Prior to this, I was like, I don't know. Not that I think I'm from another planet, but, I've been like, I don't know if this is really for me. And now I'm like, yeah, this is my playground. I feel like we've hit a frequency that we can jive in. And this is going to be why people, I believe, need leaders, need teachers, and grounded leaders and teachers that can say, okay, I've been there. I know what it feels like to have your third eye buzzing off your forehead. I can help you with this. So it's exciting to me that there's people like yourself who are leading with this energy. And I see the vision board behind you. So it's obviously key for you too. So this is something you help people understand as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a very, very, very powerful tool. Actually, my first business was doing vision board workshops in schools and community centers with youth. So this is one of the vision boards that I created a few years ago, and I like to keep it up because it just reminds me of the things that I've accomplished and how powerful vision boards actually are. And yeah, I think they're a very powerful tool and recommend them to everyone. There's a reason that so many coaches talk about it, because they really work. It
is important. The one, I know you guys can't see it, but that's the one I did last year and my partner framed for me. And I leave them up. I used to teach the workshops, And I miss that, actually. We can't right now in person, but and there have been times, like before I taught each one, I would do a new one to bring in, because I wanted to be in alignment with what I was teaching. And there have been a couple times where an old one will fall behind a dresser, or it'll be in a closet or something, and I'll pull it out and I'll be like, holy smokes, that absolutely happened. And it would be something like, I remember years ago, I put this beautiful horse on one, and not that I wanted to own a horse, I just wanted to go for a couple riding lessons. And that year, people randomly, I hadn't said it to anybody, gifted me riding lessons. And I was like, this is the best. So they do work. And I feel like it's important to communicate to people that do them whenever you want. Do an online one, do a Pinterest board, do a 3x5 index card, however that it helps you to line up.
I'd like to do my new ones on my desktop on my computer.
Yes.
So there's a software called Canva.
Yes.
Great software. So I just found, I just typed in collage, and then I used a template, and I like to use that because pre-CV, I was traveling quite a bit, and I found that I was crinkling up my vision boards. I'm like, I can't crinkle up my vision. No. So I ended up on desktop instead, and I love it because every day I open my laptop, so every day I see it.
That's a brilliant, and Canva has a free version that's lovely, wonderful to work with. So that's a great. I've had mine on the bag too, and it's just, it gives you that little boost, I think, just to give that reintroduction again of the infusion of energy. We have to do that for ourselves. It's nice to meet people and have that connection, but we are responsible for it. So I've so enjoyed this conversation, and it's currently 444 if anybody, maybe not when you're listening to it, but at this moment, love my angel numbers. How can people get a hold of you and get in this group and work with you and just experience your very, very clean energy field? I've been admiring it.
Thank you. What a big compliment. So come and join me in the Facebook group, Achieve Your Dreams with Cassandra Rosa. I also have my own podcast. It's called Clarity Conversations that I talked about earlier. So that's available on all major platforms. And then talk to me in the DMs on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Instagram is Cassandra Rosa with an extra A at the end. Yeah, send me a message. I would love to connect. If you are someone that's looking for clarity in this very uncertain world that's going on right now, I'm your girl. I feel like that's my gift. And I am open to connect with you and see what's the best way I can serve and help you find that clarity that you're seeking most.
Wonderful message, because no matter where we are in life, that is what I feel like brings the peace, is the clarity. Sometimes it's looking at the challenging stuff, but that's empowering too, to be able to say, I see you, cute little block there, and I'm going to ask you to leave, or do some. I saw that the neurolinguistic programming and that you studied, and it's a big love of mine, and just working with the neural pathways, because we are human. We have these amazing soul selves, and we're walking around in these human experiences. So when we merge them, we're amazing. So thank you for being amazing, for being here, and for sharing with my listeners your offering and your knowledge and your energy. Like I said, great energy field. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to connecting with the audience.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition Your First Sense. I appreciate you being here, and as always, you can get a hold of me on any of the social platforms at coachvickybaird.com, or you can email info@vickybaird.com. That's info @vickybaird.com. Thank you so much.